Hey there viewers, let's discuss 9 greatest inventions there will be in 2020. But before starting the video, if you have not subscribed to my channel, Beaming Wink, please subscribe it. Number 1. 5G networks will bring the internet everywhere. You may have already seen ads about 5G wireless phones. AT&T and Verizon both are setting up small connection points in public places like sports stadiums to show off what is coming. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Right now, 5G does not have a lot of range, which is why it cannot be used in small areas. But that's not always be the case. According to the computer world, the 5G implementation out there right now use millimeter wave technology, which uses the highest frequencies but has the least range, which is why it can currently only cover portions of an NFL stadium, for example. This will change, however, as lower frequency service is on the way too, and while it won't be as fast, it will have a greater range and still be way faster than 4G LTE, the current standard. Number 2 on our list, smart needles will detect cancer in moments. While science continues to work toward a cure for cancer, there are still plenty of milestones to cross. Right now, most cancers aren't detected until something goes wrong. If you have a family history of specific cancer, your doctor might test you for that occasionally. If something does come, you typically need to go under the knife for a biopsy, which is then sent off to a lab, and then you hear something back in a week, if you're lucky. But what if there was a better way? That's what then Smart Needles hopes to introduce. Cancerous tissue and healthy tissue refract light differently. According to Medical Express, the way the Smart Needle works is by shining fiber optic light through the tissue in equations. The Smart Needle can then quickly calculate the scattering of light, which helps it determine if the tissue is sick or healthy. It takes seconds and without painful surgery. Best of all, the Smart Needle might reduce healthcare costs in general. Number 3. Electrical car batteries will only get better. Electrical cars are becoming more likely to replace standard cars every year, but currently, one of the biggest things holding them back are batteries. Your typical electric car today only has a range of 150 to 310 miles and takes an hour or more to charge. Once your vehicle runs out of juice, you might be stuck waiting for it to recharge. But 2 new innovations are on the way. First, a new discovery has reduced those hours-long charge times down to just 10 minutes. It works by increasing the temperature of the battery as it charges, which researchers have found causes the charging reaction to occur far more quickly than it did before. Best of all, this doesn't degrade the battery at all according to science. The battery's lifespan remains the same. Number 4. Smartphone labels will reduce food waste. Most foods have a handy label to tell you when it's expired. If your peanut butter has a best before date of last week, you would throw it out, right? Well, maybe you don't need it. Expiration dates on food are best guesses, and they are often overly conservative to reduce the liability of grocery stores. Not because the food has actually gone bad according to Food Dive. This creates a ton of unnecessary food waste. In steps, smart labels, they are much like the small labels that are currently on packaged food, but well, smarter. Instead of just having a printed expiration date that's a guesstimate at very best, these labels will actually detect the presence of disease or when something has spoiled. For example, a smart label that detects a salmonella or any other foodborne illness could be attached to the label of package of meat, and it would change color if it detects anything dangerous. There are also time-based labels in the works. So, best of all, these labels would make it easier to track down contaminated products at many points along the chain, and makes it easier for consumers to know that their food is tainted or just spoiled off. Number 5. 3D bioprinting is now much closer. Finding new organs for people is a costly, long process. People still rely on donors, living or dead, to offer up their working organs. which are transplanted into the sick person. Then, the patient need to take anti-rejection immunosuppressants for the rest of their lives. But 3D bioprinting promises to change this. A 3D bioprinter could print new organs or tissue in just a few days or even hours, using the basic building blocks of the body. What's more, these tissue could be made using the patient's own genetic material, reducing the problems with rejection. Number 6. Neural inferencing will let our brains connect to computers. Amazing. While computers and the human brain both run on electrical signals, the two aren't compatible. Science had struggled with bridging the gap between the two, a technology called neural inferencing. If humans can figure that out, it might be possible to do things like view memories and possibly even completely downloading someone's brain to a computer, among many other huge leaps in our understanding of the brain. People might be able to get started on that very soon, thanks to the controversial entrepreneur Elon Musk's Neuralink. Neuralink is working on a new neural interface that uses tiny flexible connections instead of the stiff threads used in the past interfaces, which had trouble with the brain's neural shifting inside the skull, according to The Verge. Number 7. Suspended animation could save a lot of lives. Suspended animation has been a mainstay of science fiction for decades. Imagine being sick, then cryogenically frozen until a cure for your disease can be found. Even Matt Groening's animated comedy Futurama is based around this idea and often pokes fun at it with cryogenically frozen or otherwise artificially preserved celebrities poking up 1,000 years from now, but humanity may now be thinking its first step toward a point where it isn't a joke and can instead be used to save lives. While the current technology isn't going to freeze people for years or let them travel to space, it's still very useful. At the University of Maryland Medical Center in Baltimore, doctors are currently experimenting with new technology where the body's blood is replaced with ice-cold saline, dropping the body's temperature dramatically, according to the new scientist. At that point, trauma victims that may have died in 5 minutes are given an extra 2 hours for surgeons to operate, which could be the difference between life and death. Number 8. Plastic could be turned back into fuel. Plastic is non-biodegradable and one of the biggest waste products humans produce. Plastic is piling up so fast it's overwhelming our landfills and collecting in our ocean. Plastic recycling doesn't exist, but its efficiency is questionable and it's often expensive. Not all kinds of plastic can be recycled either. There are also efforts underway to develop new ways of disposing of plastic, such as cultivating bacteria that can digest it. But plastics typically made with oil and other fossil fuels might just have another path of being useful to use in the near future. As the world continues to run out of fossil fuels, scientists at Lysala have developed the catalytic hydro reactor, according to Australian Broadcasting Corporation. This reactor uses heat, pressure, and water to reduce the plastic down to more basic elements, namely the oil used to create the plastic in the first place. While the best idea for the future is to eventually not need to rely on oil at all, the CAT HDR could help it get to a point where humanity is running out of oil before alternative energies can be fully developed. Best of all, the CAT HDR can reduce any kind of plastic into oil without the need for sorting. Furthermore, the plastic can be recycled over and over again, something that can be done with most recycling plastics now. Number 9. People will be able to feel things in virtual reality. Virtual reality and augmented reality made a big splash in the last decade, but things will only get more interesting from here, starting with the ability to touch and feel things we see through all the various kinds of computer-generated imaginary. While experiments of this sort have been tried in the past, the results were often very bulky and required a ton of power, large batteries to be attached. Now, though the new technologies are allowing for tactile skins that are far thinner and require far less power. One of these is developed by John A. Rogers and his team at Northwestern University. Their skin uses tiny thin discs to create vibration instead of bigger actuators you might find in a gaming controller or phone, which use a lot more power. What's more, they're thin enough they can be charged using near field technology, meaning less reliance on large batteries, according to the Scientific American. Hey, do you like the video? Then give this video a thumbs up and also share with us about the new inventions that are coming that make you the most curious in the comment section below.